You're listening to Fun with Horror with your hosts, Scotty and Andrew.
Hey, Scotty. Wait, do we have the rights to that sound?
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, I'm just going to do that the whole podcast. So
Please
you're
do.
on your own, buddy.
Yep. That's all right. We might get sued, but worth it. Worth it. We got 7 episodes in.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Happy today.
Happy today, man. Happy today. I just wrote on our Facebook page that we're about to record.
You did?
I did.
Oh.
I hopped on there.
That's good because I don't want to be the only person posting on our Facebook page.
Right. Well, and I realized I was like, I haven't posted on there yet, and today I wanted to, so I did.
Way to jump in there, pal.
Thanks, man. I'm taking initiative. Is that the word? Yeah. Yeah. Leadership.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Dude.
You're taking courses for initiative and leadership. Is that what you're doing?
It's exactly right.
Leadership and horror. Sorry, 20s flapper.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, wow, this is off to a good start.
I think so.
How are you? What do you got? What do you got for me?
What do I have for
Anything?
you? Oh man, I always got something. I feel like. Let me look.
Did you watch any horror movies or anything this week?
I did. Guess what I watched? Well, actually, I sent you a picture.
What? Wait. Did I see this picture already?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Remind me.
Well, let me make sure I get the line right. So what I did was I had subtitles on so I could send it to you. It's from a little movie. I don't know. Not many people know it.
Wait, that's not a. Yeah. What?
It's a big movie, dude. I was just being sarcastic. No, the line that I sent you with the subtitles on from the movie says, "Want to get drunk and fool around," which I said was like the best pickup line ever.
Best pickup line ever.
Yeah, and that is from Jaws, man. I watched Jaws yesterday.
I guess that was a horror movie. Yeah,
that was what I was gonna ask you.
Reason, for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Ask me.
Well, so that was one thing I know I brought it up once before on the podcast, I think. But.
Yeah.
But going from like thriller to horror, what would you consider Jaws? Do you consider it a horror or a thriller?
By today's standards, I don't think many people would consider it horror.
Right.
But I think back when it released, I think a lot of people considered it horror. Because I remember actually hearing about people that were legitimately scared to get in the water after seeing that movie. And, I mean, by those standards back then, and I remember seeing it back then, there were some very horrific scenes in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, now it's just, to me, it's just one of the greatest movies ever made. And, you know, I hear people talk about the shark and that it kind of looks fake. And I guess, but not like other movies. There's other movies where the special effects look so dated.
Yeah.
And compared to those movies, Jaws still looks great.
I agree.
It's amazing how they got those special effects and the shark effects and all that.
I agree. And I actually, watching it yesterday, I really didn't think the shark looked bad. I mean, there's maybe a couple shots, maybe, but really, the way they filmed it, you don't really see it much anyway.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't think it was bad. It's a great movie, though.
I love that movie.
I know. And then,
I think the last... Yeah, go ahead.
No, what I looked up afterward, though, is Funkos from Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't say, in case anyone's seen this, or excuse me, in case anyone hasn't seen it, I won't spoil movies that we aren't talking about.
Be very vague, yeah.
Yes, but there is one Funko that is kind of one of the last shots of the movie, and it's a famous shot. It's very famous.
Yeah, I know.
You know which one I'm talking about.
You're talking about.
But I was like, that's interesting to see that because I mean it's a spoiler Funko.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And I mean, you can vaguely say the Robert Shaw scene, you know?
right? Yes. Yep.
And everybody that's seen the movie will know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that's, well, I'll get to the spoiler thing, but the other thing I was going to say about Jaws is the interesting thing is the last time I watched it, oh man, that movie is so near and dear to my heart that during the beginning with Chrissy and Jaws,
Yep.
the noises she was making, my girlfriend was totally making fun of it when it happened. Like my girlfriend was going, you know, and I was just like, oh. I was like, please don't ruin this scene for me.
Well, but those are real screams because I read or saw or something that I think she broke 2 ribs in that scene.
Oh.
So that's
wow.
really her freaking out. I think she either sprained them or no, I'm pretty sure she broke them because she was getting whipped around so hard. Those are genuine screams of terror, right? Yeah.
That scene is fantastic.
It's so good. It is like one of the best intros to a horror movie. I would call it a horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's one of the best intros for sure. For sure.
Man, I love that movie so much.
It's so good. It's so good. No, I was just saying that had that question going in my mind again of like what's thriller and what's horror, and is there a huge difference? I don't know.
Well, I think we're going to get into that in a future episode when we deep dive into what scares us and what we consider horror.
Yep.
And the whole thing of people thinking a movie isn't a horror film just because it doesn't scare them.
Right.
Which I disagree with. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
Because I definitely want to talk about that.
Me too.
And I also want to see how many times I can say definitely in this prologue. Definitely.
We got a lot going on. We're either going to get sued or we're going to get called out for definitely. But that's really good, by the way.
It's amazing that we
really
didn't talk about that movie. Right? It's amazing we haven't talked about that movie.
Yeah. Well,
with me making those noises. We just jumped into Jaws.
Yep. I know people listening will be like, that's not from Jaws. Is it?
But what I was going to say about spoilers, and this is there's so many arguments about spoilers, and certain people hate spoilers, certain people don't care.
Right.
And, you know, I'm super sensitive to spoilers. You know this.
Yes.
And we're not going to spoil something even like Jaws.
Right.
Unless we announce ahead of time that is the movie we're spoiling. Because my whole, the thing I live by with movies is that if somebody hasn't seen a movie, it's a spoiler. If somebody hasn't seen The Empire Strikes Back,
right,
the end of that movie, if you tell them, you just spoiled it for them. They don't know.
Yep.
I don't care how well known a movie twist is. If somebody does not know that twist, you can spoil it for them.
Right.
And that is what I believe. There's a word I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of it, but yeah. That's my credo, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. No, I think that works.
Yeah, that's a good word, the creed.
Yeah.
That's the creed I live by.
It is the creed.
The creed. If you have not seen a movie, it can be spoiled.
That's right.
I started to go into an accent there.
I wasn't sure where we were going
it
with
right
that.
away. I just abandoned it right away.
Yep, that's fair.
And that's why every week we say the same thing. And I'm going to say it again now.
Yeah.
Our movie of the week this week is Malignant, directed by James Wan. And this movie has only been out a few weeks.
Right.
So, again, extra special spoiler warning. We are going to talk about it, and we're definitely going to spoil this one.
Yes. Oh, very much so.
So, if you haven't seen Malignant yet, and you care about spoilers, you don't want this movie spoiled for you, I would definitely not listen to this and go watch the movie.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the great thing is, if you've listened this far into the podcast, you've given us credit for the listen. So that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
pause the podcast, go watch Malignant, and come back.
We want you back.
I'm excited.
Me too. Oh my gosh, I am too.
The body of Dr. Florence Weaver was found brutally murdered in her home this morning.
Did you know her? No, but I saw her die. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing murders as they're happening.
Man, you're good at that noise.
I'm great at that noise.
Sorry,
just
you were
because-
great at that noise.
Well, I mean, I did make it your text tone.
You did. I
and
know.
I get that all the time now.
That is the best text tone. What a
It's
gift.
the greatest text tone. Anyway,
Yes.
go ahead.
Well, all right. So you picked this movie for the week, Malignant.
I did. Malignant.
Malignant, and as you mentioned, I believe last week, and maybe on our Facebook, or I'm not sure, but you mentioned that this movie is really separating horror fans. I mean,
Yeah.
to
yeah.
the extreme. So I'm really excited to hear your thoughts, man. This is your movie, so I want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
And while I said that it's dividing horror fans, I honestly am starting to get the feeling that more people are in the dislike camp
Whoa.
of this movie.
Okay.
Because I know in a Facebook group that we're both in, somebody mentioned Malignant, and most of the comments were, I hated that movie. I hated it. That movie sucked. You know?
Wow, that sounded like you could be in Pumpkinhead, but yeah.
Wait, did Pumpkin, was there like a
There-
fake British accent?
No, I thought you were going like Southern, like,
Moving.
hey, there, the bear.
Anyway, let's
Anyway.
get to what we thought
Yeah.
of Malignant.
Yay! Oh, tell me, man. Lay it on me.
All right, are you ready?
I am ready.
Did I like or did I dislike Malignant?
Oh my gosh.
But before I get into that, let me. No, I'm just kidding.
Today's sponsor.
I am going to say
Mm-hmm.
right off the bat that Malignant is in a certain category of movie for me.
Okay.
And I call this category movies that I absolutely loved, but can absolutely understand people that did not love the movie.
Perfect.
That's how I feel about it.
Yep.
What about you, real quick?
Literally the exact same thing.
Literally.
Literally. Yes, I loved
Literally.
it, but I can see why people wouldn't.
Yes.
Yep.
Literally.
Literally.
I like the way you said that.
Thanks,
Sorry.
man.
Literally. And that's the end of the podcast.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. We both liked it. Have a good night, everybody.
No. So, I mean, let's just get right to the twist of the movie. And once again, this is your last chance to bow out of this podcast if you haven't seen the movie, because this is the twist.
Yes.
I didn't see it coming, and I'm very happy. I saw something similar coming, okay?
Right.
I thought that she had a twin,
That's what I thought.
okay?
Yep.
And I thought her twin was the one committing murders. Did I realize that the twin was actually inside, like stuck inside the back of her head? No, I didn't. And I love that I didn't. And when I saw that reveal, I just sat there with my mouth hanging open. And I was just like, what? And it's so ridiculous and unrealistic.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I
Yes.
just sat there like with the biggest smile on my face. I was just, holy crap.
Oh,
And then I just started thinking back to everything else in the movie.
right.
And man, I was just overjoyed. Like the entire movie, every time you saw, I guess, Gabriel,
Right.
And especially during the big chase scene with Gabriel and Detective Kakoa.
Yes.
By the way, awesome character name.
I know.
I loved it.
Agree. It was sweet.
As soon as he said it, I was like, wait, Kakoa? That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that whole chase scene, I just kept watching. I'm like, man, that is such a cool effect where the killer looks like he's running backwards.
Right?
And how are they doing that? That's so cool. And it just did not hit me. You know, maybe somebody out there is listening to the podcast and like, hey, what are you, stupid?
Right?
You couldn't see that coming? I'm like, no, I did not see it coming.
And we're better for it.
I'm better for it. But oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that twist. It was great.
You know what's funny about it?
Tell me.
Is I went and saw Family this last week, and my brother, shout out to
I haven't
Alex.
seen that movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one. It's cute. in doses. No,
I know your brother Alex. And
You know
yeah,
Alex.
shout out.
Shout out
I
to
love
Alex.
Alex.
He's going to listen to this, but
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Yes.
Oh, speaking of, yeah, talk about your family.
Okay, real quick. So I told him, hey, this is our next movie that we're going to talk about. And he watched it. He'd already watched it too. And he's like, yeah, I had it figured out. And I said, you did? And he's like, yeah, well, like a malignant tumor. And I went,
I
didn't even think that word.
I'm an idiot because I was thinking of that word the entire movie.
Really?
I was thinking about it's time we cut the cancer.
Right? Yeah.
I was thinking of that the entire movie. I loved that line, and I just thought it was so
that's a good
overdramatic and
soundbite.
ridiculous. It's time we cut the cancer.
Nice.
So good, but I still didn't realize that he was in the back of her head.
Right. Yeah. I didn't either. But I should have
so many
realized that they were
hints.
connected in some way just because I've heard that term a zillion times and I don't know. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Just made me laugh. I went, oh, go, of course.
I actually looked up an article, and that listed a whole bunch of hints in the movie that basically spelled it out for you.
Really?
And I love it. I love it. In the opening credits, they're showing all the medical papers and stuff.
Right.
It's written right in the medical paper. Twins born with conjoining heads.
What?
2 heads and stuff like this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What was the
James
other one? Oh, this is my favorite. Okay, so there's lots of little ones. If you watch the movie again a second time, I have not yet.
I haven't either.
I'm going to because I did love this movie and I can't wait to watch it again.
Yes.
But I guess if you watch it a second time, you catch all these obvious clues. When her husband is walking through the house,
Right.
he hears things. He wakes up in the middle of the night, and he sees her sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is her.
Right.
She's sitting on the couch, but she's being controlled by Gabriel, obviously, at
Right.
that moment. What a clue.
Yeah.
The doctor. I guess the doctor, when Madison calls her and tells her, I guess, or plays the recording of Gabriel or something like that, the doctor doesn't take out any kind of medical forms for Gabriel. She takes medical forms out for Madison.
Oh, good call.
Man, here's my favorite, though, buddy.
Yeah,
Are you
lay it
ready?
on me. Oh, this is fun. Yes.
They're watching the home videos.
Right.
The home videos that eventually lead to the reveal of Gabriel on the back of her head.
Right.
And there's the part with little Madison at the birthday party. And
Right.
it looks like she's talking to an imaginary friend.
Mm-hmm.
And she's turning to her right to talk to said imaginary friend.
Right.
She's not turning to her right. She's talking to Gabriel in the back of her head. And when you watch that scene again, knowing where Gabriel actually is, it is so creepy and cool. I loved it.
Oh, man.
I loved it. And we're alienating so many people right now that hated that movie.
Right.
But I just went with it. I just had fun. I loved it. Loved it. You hear me?
I'm with you. I loved it as well, man. You're preaching to the choir, dude.
But at the same time,
Yes.
like I said when I started this, that reveal is so ridiculous and it is so unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
that if somebody can't get behind it, if they're watching the movie, I could totally see somebody going, "Oh, come on. Are you
Right.
kidding me?" Because it's basically the same reaction I think you and I had, but just with a different emotion behind it.
Right.
Like I'm sitting here like, "Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous." And then somebody else going, "Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous."
Right. I'm with you, though. I actually had the same... The only other time I can think of where a horror movie, like, I had a big goofy grin because I was just like, this is bonkers, and I love every second of it. And again, I'm not spoiling anything, but there's a scene in Cabin in the Woods, which anyone that's seen that will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh,
It's that same thing. I just sat there with a goofy grin on my face and was like, this is awesome. This is amazing.
it is. I would also, but I would argue that Cabin in the Woods, in the realm of that movie, is the stuff that happens is strangely more believable than what happens in Malignant.
Fair enough. Yeah, I get that. Yep.
I mean, but
I just had that same feeling of just like, this is crazy and awesome, and I'm happy.
the other thing that I've heard as a criticism of this movie, and I actually tried to stay away from too many criticisms or good reviews even, because I don't like other people's reviews to influence mine at all.
Right.
And of course, after we record this, I will go and watch some of the ones I've been putting off watching.
Right.
But one other thing that I've heard is just people not expecting this type of movie out of James Wan.
Ah, okay.
And I mean, that's the part I would kind of argue against, because if anybody's read about this movie, James Wan set out to make his own version of a giallo movie, which is, those who don't know, it's Italian. The Italian horror movie genre is popularly called giallos.
Right.
And giallos are very melodramatic. The blood in those movies is very red. They're over the top, and they're kind of ridiculous in times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did with this movie. And to further go down that path, I want to remind everybody that thinks that this was not James Wan up to par with what he usually makes.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to remind people that James Wan directed Aquaman, in which I believe an octopus was playing drums in that movie. So James Wan is absolutely capable of making a movie where a woman has a conjoined twin in her head that takes over her body and runs backwards and kills people.
Well, and he even did an interview, because after watching this, I watched, of course, Chris Stuckman, who you and I watch on YouTube.
See, that was the one I was mentioning. I didn't want to watch him until after I saw the movie.
Right. And
I
waited. But one thing that I like that he says a lot of great things, of course, but one thing he I think he brings up like an article from James Wan, like an interview with James Wan. He says, this is something totally different. Please do not go in expecting Conjuring. Like, that was his wording, was don't expect Conjuring.
Yeah.
And I think, not everyone, but I think a lot of people maybe thought, oh, this is going to be just that same feel, that same style. And it wasn't. It was very different.
Yeah. And I, in turn, was reading an interview with Joseph Bishara, who we talked about in our Conjuring 3 podcast. He did the score to the movie. And he does a lot of James Wan's scores. He was talking about when he first read the script.
Oh.
And he talked to James Wan after reading the script. And James and Joseph both said that this movie is not going to be for everybody.
Huh. Funny.
So James Wan was completely aware of how this movie was going to divide people, which I think is good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's good to know that about your own movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But Well, I'm glad we both loved it.
Yeah, it was a blast. I do have to ask you though questions. Like I
Ask
want to
me.
hear your input on a few things.
Go for it.
There were 3 scenes in particular that really stuck with me.
Okay.
I want to know what you thought of the intro though. Like the opening scene. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, it's this type of movie, and this is another one that I'm really happy I didn't see the twist coming, because I see an intro like that, and I know that I keep that intro in the back of my head.
Right.
Kind of like Empty Man. Empty Man had an intro that during the movie I kept going back to the intro and thinking, what's the connection? What does it mean? And
Right.
that's what I was doing with this movie. What is the connection in this movie? I mean, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a specific question about it? What
Well,
do you think?
I loved it because it was I felt kind of campy in a fun way. Like the music felt sort of 80s. There was very much like some over the top moments. You see like that kind of like zoom in on the lady's face as she screams, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting at all. And
Yeah, and that was the
yeah.
that was the giallo feel of the movie.
Right,
And
exactly.
you got a glimpse of this creature behind a screen, and then it ends with our line. It ends with the
Yeah.
with the doctor saying, it's time we cut the cancer,
Yep.
which to me, that kind of set the tone for the whole movie. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that was over the top. And the whole movie was filled with people that were doing good acting jobs, but at the same time saying lines that were just overly melodramatic.
Totally. Yep.
So I like the intro.
Okay.
What else you got for me?
Well, and then the other 2 scenes that really I adored, and they were kind of one right after the other, but the fight
Yeah.
scenes, like the big massacre
Oh.
scenes. What
the
did you
jail
think,
cell?
man? The jail cell.
I thought that was incredible.
Right.
I mean, that came right after the reveal.
Right.
It was part of it. They keep cutting between the video and her in the jail cell, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? and then she reaches back, and there's Gabriel in the back of her head, and then she turns backwards and she's killing people backwards, and I absolutely loved it. Although that's when things got a little weird. And because okay, so you have the whole chase scene with Detective
Right.
Kakoa, and you have Gabriel doing that backwards run thing and parkouring like crazy
Yeah.
backwards, which was awesome.
It was awesome.
But you don't know the reveal yet, so they didn't show her face in
Right.
the front. Whereas you've just had the big reveal happen in the jail cell. So they have her CG face, or what? I'm not sure how they did it yet.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
only on HBO now. There's not a lot of extras.
Right.
I'm very much looking forward to getting a full release with bonus features and all. But yeah, so you see her face and stuff, and that was just very off-putting,
Yeah. Really
but
creepy.
not in a bad way. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that scene though.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Well, and then the one right after with the police station, same thing, just like another insane massacre.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just awesome.
Yeah. I thought that was all great. I guess okay, if I have any complaints about the movie,
Yeah, please.
even accepting the overdramatic line reads during the movie, there were some that I didn't care for as much. I'm sorry, I don't know the character's name, but the lady detective,
Right. Yep.
she was a little bit frustrating for me. Just her character was very, very stereotypical. The
Yeah.
one that I mean, in the end, she turned out to be right. It was Madison, in a way, killing people.
Right. Yep.
And how did you feel about the end? And recapping the ending, just to remind us,
Yeah.
is the whole internal battle
Mm-hmm.
between Madison or Emily and Gabriel.
Right.
And I did like the part where it looked like she shot her sister,
Right,
even though I
yeah.
knew that hadn't happened.
Right. Me too.
Although for a second I was like, wait, did they really go there? That would be a dark ending.
Yep.
But I kind of figured that she was at that point fighting with Gabriel in her head and making Gabriel believe that he had killed the sister.
Right.
Sydney is her name.
Mhm.
I like that. But remind me what happens after that.
Well, then she has the internal struggle with Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabriel, like, almost wakes up in the dream sequence like she's been experiencing every time he kills someone.
Yeah.
And she says, basically, I control you now, essentially. And then I think that's it. I mean, and then we get, like, a little epilogue scene, I guess. But that was...
What was the epilogue scene?
I'm
Was
trying-
it?
I'm
Or
trying
was
to
it?
remember.
Did the movie end on the light?
Oh.
Was that was the end, right?
You're
the
right.
light
Yep.
buzzing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come on, but it's just like that Inception type
You're
ending
right.
with the light, and there's a little hum, and you're like, oh, Gabriel's still around
Yep.
somewhere.
That's right. You're right. Yep.
The thing is, I would like to see where they go in a sequel, because while we know that it wasn't really her killing people,
Mm-hmm.
it was Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, how many people in the world are going to believe that? And I want to see
Right.
if there's any consequences for her.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, do they arrest Madison because of what Gabriel did? Because she kind of did kill people,
Yeah.
except with this weird controlling her. So I don't know. I mean, the ending I still liked, but
Mhm.
I have questions about it, basically, is I guess what I'm saying.
Right. I almost looked at it like a I almost looked at it like an origin story, like of a superhero. like she got control
Ooh.
of this
Yeah.
thing. Now she can kind of she knows she has these she can like parkour like crazy now. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. So that, and even the music kind of came up, and I was like, "Oh man, like this he could make like he could do a sequel and make it a superhero movie, and then a sequel after that and make it a love story. And I mean, he could do like the whole genre."
Yeah, and they did mention that when Gabriel takes over, she has like super strength kind of.
Right. Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Now-
yeah, I liked it.
One thing I feel we should mention,
Yeah, please.
because so now we're speaking to the audience out there.
Yes.
Andrew and I, we do not discuss these movies before the podcast.
True. Yes.
When we record our podcast, it's the first time Andrew and I know what each other thought of the movie we're talking about.
True.
However, Andrew did mention one thing to me before we started recording today, and I think it's a good thing to mention.
Mhm.
You mentioned that there's certain triggers in this movie,
Right. Yes.
and at the beginning of the movie, it's actually, I mean, it's a trigger in more ways than one.
Right.
She is abused by her husband.
Right.
And it's kind of brutal.
Yeah, that scene was horrifying.
And yeah, I mean, he like knocks her head against the wall really hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a trigger in two ways. Like, somebody who is triggered by abuse
Mm-hmm.
is gonna have a hard time with this part of the movie.
Right.
And then it triggers Gabriel, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the other kind of trigger.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that is what we find out later on when he knocked the back of her head so hard against the wall, it woke up Gabriel.
Right.
And that's when everything starts to go crazy. And the other thing is that they mention that she has miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out later in the movie that Gabriel does not want her attention divided.
Right.
He does not want her to lavish love on a new child, so Gabriel's been killing her babies.
Yeah. It's dark.
That's dark.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had an interesting conversation about triggers and trigger warnings in horror movies, and
Mhm.
I feel those things need to be brought up as triggers for the horror movie.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, but again, we also kind of assume that people have watched the movie that listen to this.
True. You're right.
Even though I'm sure there's people out there that don't really care about spoilers and they just want to listen to the podcast.
Right. Yep.
So it was a good thing for you to bring up. Those
Thanks,
are definite huge triggers.
Yeah, it just
So-
like I said, it just struck me right at the beginning. I went, "Oh man, there's a couple things in this that, are tough to talk about." So yeah,
Well, I mean,
You
and
know.
even as a viewer, it was tough to watch those scenes.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm not particularly triggered by those things,
Mhm.
but it's not easy to watch.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of nice that right after it happens, he gets his, like the husband
yeah,
gets killed by Gabriel, and
Yep.
so
in
that
a
was
kind
an
of a
interesting
horrific
thing.
way too. But yeah,
Ooh, yeah, that was pretty horrific. Pretzel.
yep, yeah. He kind of looked like a pretzel afterward. So
I want to say that I absolutely loved, and I know that you thought of me,
oh,
Andrew. I know that you thought of me during when this moment was realized. I love that the movie took place in Seattle.
I know. I have that written right here. I have Seattle with 3 exclamation points afterward.
With a nice, like, beautiful scenic shot of the Space Needle.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I know. I was like, I gotta bring it up.
And they even went into the Seattle Underground, which was very cool. I've never been to the Seattle Underground.
Me either.
It's something I would like to do the next time I go to Seattle.
Oh, go. We'll go. It's a date.
Yeah.
Next time you're
For
here,
everybody
man.
out there, I just want to say Seattle is my favorite city in the country. I love Seattle.
So awesome.
Yeah. So I love any movie that takes place in Seattle.
Me too.
Now, so let me ask you this, Andrew.
Yeah, please.
It's a James Wan movie.
Yes.
Did you catch any references to any past James Wan movies?
Oh, let me think, because he usually does put a few Easter eggs in there, huh?
He does, usually. I mean, there's a Annabelle doll in Aquaman.
Oh, right. Well, and then, isn't there... Did he do Dead Silence?
He did, and I have not seen it.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Never
But
mind.
there is a reference, for sure, for something there.
I think it's the only James Wan movie I haven't seen, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's on my list.
Well, I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
But this movie, did you catch any
I
references?
don't know if I did, I guess. Did
Well,
you?
Yeah.
Ooh, lay it on me.
So first of all, I think it's Detective Kakoa.
Mm-hmm.
On his computer, if you look closely, on the bottom right-hand corner of his computer screen, there is a faint A, Aquaman symbol.
Oh, cool.
And I don't... So this may or may not be a reference. But there is the moment when Gabriel, quote-unquote, calls the detectives. And he says, "Hello, detective."
Oh.
And it totally, to me, I mean,
Saw.
somebody out there, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like "Hello, Detective" from Saw.
Would you like to
It was just,
Nice.
he didn't say that.
I know, no, yeah.
I would have died if he said that.
That would have been awesome.
I want to play a game. But yeah, I mean, that, I thought right away of Saw.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure that was a shout out then. That's gotta be.
A very, very subtle, quick shout out.
Right. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
I thought that was very cool. Um,
What about
I think-
music? What did you think of the music for this?
well, before I get into the music, the only other thing I'm going to mention
Oh,
is, did you make a mental note in the prologue? Because you mentioned the prologue, and other thing I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make a mental note of the trophy behind her with the with the big sharp point sticking up?
I don't know if I did at the beginning.
Oh my gosh, I totally did.
Did you?
I saw that trophy. I was like, that trophy is going to kill somebody in this movie.
And then it became the weapon
Yeah,
he used
big
in the
time.
movie.
So that was one very predictable thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, wow, that is way too prominent.
right. I don't know why I didn't catch that.
There. The music. So
Yeah.
this is going to go right back to The Conjuring
Okay.
because, as usual, Joseph Bishara once again did the score to a James Wan movie.
Right.
And I liked the score. I actually was loving the music during the movie. But I will say that after it was over and I was watching the credits, it turns out that some of my favorite pieces of music in the movie were not Joseph Bishara's score.
Oh, funny. Okay.
Yeah, the opening credits, the main titles. I was sitting there going, "Oh my Lord, this is good!" Like the music was so good; it had a Seven feel to me because it was very industrial. But it turns out that that's a piece of music by Cell Dweller called "When Your Walls Fall."
Interesting.
And yeah, it's a really cool piece of music, electronic, industrial. And then throughout the movie, there seemed to be this refrain, this partial cover of the Pixies' "Where Is My Mind?" And I was like, I thought that was very cool, but turns out again that was not Joseph Bishara. That was an artist named Safari Riot who did this cover of "Where Is My Mind?"
Funny.
Which I've since listened to, and I think it's really cool. But yeah, other than that, I really like Joe Bishara's score, but it sounded a lot like his other scores.
Gotcha.
It's very moody. I haven't listened to it on its own. Like, I haven't listened to the soundtrack yet. But I mean, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'll listen to it later on iTunes or whatever.
Right on.
But yeah, it reminded me of his other scores.
Okay. Makes sense.
Did you think now that you've been talking to me and you know you've got music on the mind? Are you noticing music more in movies?
I would say a bit more. Yeah, for sure. Like this one, like I said, I was the same way. I really liked the intro because it kind of had like older horror movie vibes. You know what I mean? So I caught that, and I really liked it because I was like, "Oh, this is like, you know, bringing me back to the '80s kind of movies or '80s or late '80s, I guess."
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say I'm definitely
notice
catching
you
it.
mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, so I'm catching it a bit for sure. I'm no expert, and this is why I like to ask you. You're the music guy. You know. So
I will make you an expert
teach me your ways
in the theories of music and movies.
I don't know what happened there.
So the only other thing I would like to mention before we get on to the three questions.
Yes, please. Yeah.
The cinematography.
Yeah.
Once again, so Michael Burgess was the cinematographer for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. And I mentioned in that podcast that I really liked the cinematography. I loved the look of the movie. This one, too. I really loved the way this movie was shot. And I after the movie was over, I looked it up, and it was Michael Burgess again.
Nice.
So, man, Michael Burgess, you're killing it
Yeah,
with
buddy.
these movies. I love it.
Yeah, it was really, really pretty. Colors, everything was.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good to look at. I'll say that.
Very well done.
Well then, since we're through that, well, let's do the three questions, man.
Yay.
So question 1, Scotty, was it gory?
Yeah. It was a little gory.
Yeah.
It was, I wouldn't put it quite on the same level as Reanimator,
Right.
but I would definitely say that the jail cell scene alone, say that quick 3 times fast.
Right.
The jail cell scene alone is pretty bloody. There's some pretty gory moments, and then just the whole visual of Gabriel coming out of the back of her head
Gosh, yeah.
is kind of gory on its own.
Yep.
And then you also have moments where you're watching Gabriel being excised from her body like a tumor, like a malignant tumor.
And that's how they came up with the name.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was gonna say mind blown, but I feel like that was too much of a pun.
Oh man. I've got to give a shout out real quick. There's a Twitter by an account named The Gory Bits.
Hmm.
And I just started following this account, and the person that runs it just a couple days ago said something to the effect, I'm not quoting it here, I don't have it in front of me, but something to the effect of, I know a lot of you, something about Malignant, about people liking Malignant.
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of you said you didn't like Malignant, but I know it's still in the back of your head. And I didn't get it at first, and I was just like, yes, it is. And then I, like an idiot. But then I was like, oh.
Touche, sir.
But I
Or
loved
madam.
it. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. That was a little aside. But yes, it's gory.
Yes. Well, and even like some of the kills that Gabriel does, there was like the first one with that trophy, or the second one, I guess. I mean, he uses it on someone's face.
Oh my
like,
God.
Yeah.
Yes.
a few times, and you're like, oh my
Ooh.
gosh, yikes.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty gory.
Definitely gory.
Yep. All right. Question number 2. Then, is it scary?
Ooh, half and half. Half and half, Andrew. I would say the intro to the movie, not scary. It was pretty ridiculous and
Yes.
awesome.
Yep.
But I would say the beginning of the actual movie,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't really know what's going on, pretty damn creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was a moment when I forget what was happening. There were some tense moments that actually made my girlfriend kind of go, "Woo!" you know, and
Yeah.
she ended up thinking the movie was ridiculous though. And yeah, and not in the good way.
Oh no.
No, it's okay.
I know.
It's totally okay.
I totally agree.
And so, therefore, I think the beginning of the movie is very creepy. It feels like Conjuring level James Wan,
Right.
where something's going on. You're not quite sure what it is. You kind of get pretty tense and freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
There's the triggers that we mentioned that give you some real life uneasiness.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as the movie goes on, it just becomes ridiculous. And whether you like the ridiculousness or you don't,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, I think it becomes less scary.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I don't think the movie's too scary overall.
Okay.
Has some creepy moments. What about you?
I think the same thing. There was some moments though, like the closet scene had me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
When Gabriel goes to kill one of the other doctors or whatever.
Oh, right, yes.
And
yes.
like the windows open and you see like the footprints and it and then he turns the light on and I sat there and I was like, oh god, he's gonna jump out.
Yeah,
But,
that was pretty creepy.
There was a couple moments, and then in the bathroom right after that too, where he's still in the building, and then you see him in the mirror.
Yeah.
I thought there was just some moments like that where I went, ooh, okay. So yeah, I would say about half and half too.
Okay.
Yeah, some
Cool.
good moments. Well, question 3, Scotty, did you have fun with horror?
Man, I had so much fun with horror. This movie has my fun with horror stamp of approval.
Oh.
Again, I know a lot of people disagree, and that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand their feelings.
Yeah.
But for me, I had so much fun watching this movie. I'm going to watch it again and again. So yeah, I have fun with horror. Did you?
I absolutely did. Yes.
Yeah.
This was, like you said, I mean, there's so many ridiculous things in it, but again, I had my goofy grin on the entire time, so I absolutely had fun with horror.
Yeah. I know I had a feeling that we would agree on this one.
Yeah.
But again, so many people dislike this movie that I was wondering. It was in the back of my head. It was in the back of my head that you may not like it, that you may have thought it was too ridiculous. But I think I know you well enough and how our tastes seem to align a lot.
Oh yeah.
That you would have fun with horror with this one as well.
Good. Yeah, I think I had the same thoughts as well, of just since it was so divided. But I figured you'd like it. It was fun.
And that was Malignant. Oh, man.
I thought we could help him. But I was wrong. It's time. We cut out the cancer.
So, that was our discussion of Malignant.
Yes.
Again, I never like to call it a review because I like discussion better.
I do too. Yeah. So that's what we
But
do.
that brings us, Andrew,
Yes.
to your pick.
Yay.
What are we watching this week?
All right. So I actually had two other ones that I was ready to pick, and they were ready to go. But I have started watching the new reboot of the Are You Afraid of the Dark television series.
Interesting.
Which, as a kid, I loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? And the reboot series is fantastic.
Okay.
Anywho, in it...
I never saw it.
Oh, okay. It's really good. It's totally fun. There's some really great creepy moments. But yeah, I adore it.
I mean, let's be transparent here. You and I are a little bit of a different generation.
That's
So
true.
I didn't
yeah.
grow up with that show like you did.
Right.
So
Fair enough.
But
I
yeah,
did.
keep going.
Yeah. But anyway, on it, on it there is a character that loves horror movies, and he brings up a movie, and I went, I have seen that on Shudder, and then I looked it up kind of afterward and realized, oh, this is like a famous movie. I should probably know this movie, and so it became my number one this week.
Okay.
And that is, we're going to the 80s.
again,
We're going.
yay.
I'm going back again, man.
I love the 80s.
This
Let's
is
go.
actually 1980, and the movie
man.
is The Changeling. I've never seen this movie and know nothing about it.
I also believe that The Changeling, is the second movie showcased on the first In Search of Darkness documentary.
Is it? Okay. Man, I
And-
need to rewatch. Well, part of me wants to, and then part of me is like, I don't want something to be spoiled.
No,
But-
it's okay.
yeah.
They really do a good job of not spoiling things.
You're right, that's
and
true.
I've seen The Changeling,
Okay.
and because when I saw In Search of Darkness,
Mm-hmm.
it made me want to watch every single movie on that documentary that I had never seen,
Right.
and The Changeling was the first.
Ooh, okay.
So I watched The Changeling one night, and I'm not going to tell you why, but I've been wanting to watch it again.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
very
perfect.
curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, this is one. Yeah, when they brought it up, I was like, and like I said, I looked it up I didn't look up any spoilers or anything. I just went, kind of, what is this again? I know I've seen it, and then I like saw that it's like really well known, and I went, oh boy, I need to see this.
Yeah, it's a classic horror movie from 1980. George C. Scott
Oh,
of
yeah.
all actors is the lead in the
Oh,
movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was the same thing as you though. It was a classic. A friend of mine had mentioned it to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt like it's a movie I should have seen as a horror fan. So I made that correction.
Good. Okay. Well, yay.
All right.
I'm excited now to hear your thoughts as well, as always.
Yeah.
But yeah. 1980.
I'm gonna
Changeling.
rewatch it this week, and you're
Okay.
gonna watch it for the first time.
I am. That is my choice. 1980s The Changeling.
Awesome.
Woohoo!
Now before we say goodbye,
Yes.
just a quick little preview.
Yay. Yes.
This is only our 8th podcast, our 8th episode.
Correct.
Yeah, 8th episode, not 8th podcast. It's our first podcast, our 8th episode.
Yes. Yeah.
So Andrew and I have been discussing the future episodes of this podcast, and even though it's only our 10th episode coming up, we decided to do something special, also because it happens the second week of October. So it's a good time for Halloween. Andrew and I, on our 10th episode, are not going to spotlight a movie. We're going to count down our top 10 horror movies of all time.
Yay.
So that's something to look forward to.
Yes, I'm so excited for this. I can't even tell you.
Also, I mean, this is out of nowhere,
Uh-oh.
even though it's kind of not because we mentioned it earlier. But you mentioned when we talked about the triggers in
Yes.
Malignant.
Yep.
You mentioned should there be a trigger warning for the podcast, and we kind of agreed that while we can talk about, and we should talk about triggers that may lie in movies, doesn't necessarily. I mean, we're a horror movie podcast,
Right.
so we don't necessarily feel like we need a trigger warning for the podcast itself. But it might be important to mention some triggers that lie in some of the horror movies we watch.
Yeah. Well, and I think...
Which also brought up the fact... Oh, go ahead, please.
No, I just said I think today's worked well doing that. I think we just, we talked about it.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it worked well.
And if somebody disagrees, they can let us know.
Yes,
That'll
please.
be fine.
Yeah.
The other thing that made me think of is, I'm sure people might have noticed, is that we strive kind of to be a clean podcast.
Right.
We talk about horror movies, but before we ever even recorded episode 1, we talked about whether we were going to be explicit or clean. And it turns out when Andrew and I talk any day, we don't really cuss. We don't really use a lot of bad language. And so we decided, yeah, let's keep the podcast. We're going to be talking about horror movies. We might talk about some pretty gory kills, but we don't really curse, and we're not going to in the podcast. So if anybody's noticed that, that's what we do.
Yep.
So anybody can pretty much listen. Although, so I guess the reason I'm saying that is if you do see an episode that says explicit, it's not really explicit because of language, but because of the subject matter of the movie we're talking about.
Right.
Such as Reanimator.
Yes.
But yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Yeah, I think people should know. And if they do see that little E down there, it's probably just because we might mention something that's maybe a little
Graphic.
Graphic, yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But we want everyone to listen.
everyone.
Everybody. Oh. Anyway.
All right, Andrew.
All right. Well, and then just one more quick plug, of course. If anyone has requests or anyone wants to talk, we have our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our Spotify playlist. We have it all. We want y'all to join us. Talk to us.
We have it all except for a TikTok, and I don't think we'll be making one.
Yeah, probably not. We can learn some horror dances or something. I don't know.
Are you dancing right now?
I am, always. Always. Throughout the whole podcast, I've been dancing. Did you not know that?
Which dance are you doing?
I'd have to make it explicit, so I can't say.
Okay, let's keep it clean.
All right.
All right, Andrew.
All right, Scotty.
I had fun.
Always. Me too.
And I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. Bye, buddy. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Maddie, who are you talking to? No one.
Maddie, what did we say about lying?
I wasn't. Well, then who are you talking to?
Gabriel.